fun times again. Bruce, there it is. Welcome to the PP1 Podcast. Wow. PP1 Podcast. We got Ted, we got Brady, we got Ryan. Brady especially, he's back.
I'm back, baby.
He's gone on his
sabbatical,
on his spirit journey out to the Joshua Tree. He's come back. He
trying to share the religion of Canucks.
Of Canucks, and I mean, just wow, what a week. Brady went to some games. He was probably the reason for the change, so you can all thank him.
It's either that or he's just been waiting. He's been leaving us. Like, I'm not coming back. I'm sick of this garbage. I don't want to talk Canucks. And then he waits until Boudreau. He waits until the axe drops, and now he's good to come back again.
Like, know,
that's probably how it looks, eh? That's probably how it looks. Like, I just couldn't deal with this team anymore. And then
the sadness, I had to take a break.
Oh, I'll come back now.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, just massive changes, and everything's good in Canucks land again. But that really is the feeling.
I'm available.
Guys, I'm ready to go. Let's do an episode. Yeah.
You guys, school's all of a sudden is just like really easy, and I can totally jump on the podcast. No, lots to talk about. Like, I wouldn't miss this one, even if I was jammed in finals. I'd probably find a way to jump on this one. So really happy to be here. Tons of changes, you guys. Tons of changes. We're gonna break them all down.
I'm excited. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way. This is obviously the PP1 Podcast. You are joining us. Maybe you're joining us from Twitter. Maybe you're joining us from YouTube. Make sure if you are on YouTube, put in a comment. Have some fun. We will answer questions. Jennifer Shafaro gave us some excellent questions. Not the one you answered, Brady. We're not talking about numbers. We're going to give actual answers, but we'll still answer it because why not?
Do you like the fact that I actually responded to that one?
I was embarrassed for all of us, I think.
You weren't the only one. Somebody else did too.
We are on the Dean Blundell Network. We are presented in concert with Summerskates and obviously our good friends at Manscaped. Go over to manscaped.com, enter PP20 for 20% off and free shipping. I mean, that's a deal in itself, but we'll get to the big ad read later. It's Canucks. Like, we're actually excited to talk about Canucks. We're excited. The word excited has come up. I actually didn't even have a graphic to put the word excited, but just imagine that it's there. But you know what? Actually, before anyone says anything, I do have words. Bruce, there it is.
Bruce, there it is. Or rolling down the street cheering on Jim and Bruce. Laid back.
You know what? It was a lot better when he wasn't here.
Did you make that one up?
It's not bad.
No, I ripped that off somebody.
He stole it.
I'm a Steeler.
That's fine. That's fine. Be nice
if you're not a Pittsburgh Steeler, you're okay by me.
No, never.
They're not even themselves tonight. That's for sure.
Screw Claypool, man. He might be a local, but screw him.
Hey, I need him to go off this week. Thank you very much. So let's keep it to a minimum, please. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, even my dog's mad that I said that. So,
groaning on the floor.
Yeah, it's just like, what are you talking about, Brady? Let's get into the obvious stuff. You were at a couple games.
Yes, I was back to back. Actually,
probably could have been live reports.
Could have been like the two most important games of the year. Really,
no kidding. No kidding.
I, being the poor broke student that I am, I actually got some free tickets from our podcast cousins, expansion cousins.
Oh,
yeah. Speakeasy podcast. They invited me out to the game, and I'd never seen Crosby before, so went down.
You got a game or in person?
There was to the game. I never seen him in person, obviously. Okay. So we went down there. It was actually probably about 15, 20 Twitter guys, like Canucks Twitter people. Kind of like something that we've been trying to plan out, and so I got to meet some people there, and we went to the game. Honestly, it wasn't the best game. Obviously, they got absolutely.
That was a Pittsburgh game. Yeah,
the Penguins, right? Crosby went all Crosby.
Wait,
got 2 assists.
You're missing a jersey on that wall. Was that you that threw the jersey?
No, but as a matter of fact, I was kind of asking the guys, are we going to see a jersey thrown on the ice tonight? And lo and behold, late in the third.
Oh, you called it?
I don't know if I called it. I asked if we were going to see it. Someone in the group was like, I think so.
Yes, permission.
Tell us
what happened.
Go ahead. What happened?
So, I said it happened. They threw the jersey on the ice. And it was crazy. The atmosphere in that building was just, you could hear a pin drop. And then till the end, about 7 minutes left, all of a sudden the fire Benning chants came in, and I couldn't help myself. I
what was that like?
Fire Benning.
Like, what does that sound like in the arena? And I mean, how many people were actually chanting?
I didn't know, like, chanting it in the arena. I didn't know if you could hear it on the broadcast or not.
It was very.
Like, it didn't seem super
apparent.
powerful, but like you could tell not everybody was doing it, but about half the people were probably chanting.
So
wait, and did you chant it?
Oh, I did. Yeah, I couldn't help myself.
We should talk about that, because like you have been a staunch Benning. I can call you a Benning bro, right? You were a
there was
Benning
definitely.
bro?
Oh yeah, I've definitely given him the benefit of the doubt on a lot of a lot of situations up until
So when was the turning point? Because to start the season off, and I would say even the first few games into the season, it was like best preseason we've ever had. Amazing moves up and down, no mistakes made.
Mm-hmm.
This is a playoff caliber team. Now you're chanting.
Yeah.
Fire Benning,
yeah. Well,
right?
I mean, I think
tell us about how you came to that realization, because that's a big 180, right? That literally is a 180.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was more so the fact that it was the players, and like the coach and the GM had lost the players, and like backing up the point where I still do think that Benning has made some good moves and he's improved this team, and I think this team's a lot better than they've been playing. But it's crazy to see the difference from Saturday to Monday in just how much you can see it in the players and how much their morale has changed under Boudreau and under Benning. But I mean, it's just, I think they finally just needed that change more than anything. And obviously for Benning, he just kind of, not to say this, but he ran out of time with this team. And I mean, I think it was just time for the change. Like I said, I still don't think Benning was absolutely horrible. But
an apologist after the divorce. How about that? He did some good things. I mean, it's not like we're aware he did some good things. He wasn't terrible, like beyond terrible. There were good things, just like anyone else. Like there's no GM that would have lasted that long if it was actually that terrible. Not that long. Maybe
the writing was on the wall too, right? Obviously, by the end
he bought himself some time on a handful of those moves.
Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, and you got to know that I believe they were talking to Boudreau 2 weeks ago, and I want to say they actually talked to Rutherford around 2 weeks ago as well. So this has been building, obviously, and we all know that.
Then, yeah.
So, just it was time for change, and for me, at the end of the day, when clearly the players need change, then I need to support those players regardless of how I feel about Benning and what he's done for the club.
I think that's fair. It must have been tough as a guy that you still support then, like just judging by what you've said, right? Like who you didn't think did a bad job, but
I didn't think he did as bad as
chant the name Fire Benning if I think you did an okay job. I mean,
yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag, isn't it?
I mean, that's why it's so important that you're here, right? Because your views on Benning for all these years have been so different compared to I would say Ryan maybe a little bit more neutral until the last little while here, but
yeah, I would think that I was probably a bit kind of like Aquilini. I don't know if you guys saw at the press conference, but he admitted, Hayes, maybe I was a little too optimistic for too long. And,
you think?
Maybe that's what happened with me and Jimbo. But
I like how this is like a dissection of Brady right now.
Well,
like,
but
hey,
he's,
man, like,
he's
we need
the guy,
to talk
right?
About Oh, he is. Absolutely.
You know that it would have went the other way had the Canucks gone on a crazy run. I would hope anyways that you would ask me like, hey man, like all these things that you've been saying about Benning after all this time, like where are you?
I think what's actually what I wasn't aware of is like, I think the real conversation here is not so much about how I feel about Benning. It's about how Travis Green was as a coach. I think that's where we're seeing the results right now. Obviously we're not seeing any new results because Rutherford hasn't made any moves, but we're seeing direct results on the ice under a new coach. And that's just a huge mentality thing, a huge mentality shift. And just hopefully, I just don't think Green was the type of coach. He had a system in mind, and he was going to bend his players to play in that system. Whereas Boudreau's coming in and he's playing that a lot more upbeat, like aggressive Canucks hockey that we kind of got away from 2 years ago. I think the Canucks kind of came into this season thinking we got to be more defensive. We got to be better defensive team. We don't want to be giving up 40 shots a night. And then, but they got away from their strengths of being a good Canucks team.
Yeah, it's weird, right? We're almost going to go from watching this team. I mean, because always you're going to get a shot in the arm when you make a coaching change, right? I mean, it's almost like you're running on adrenaline at that point, right? And who knows how long this is last. Boudreau's got a history of sort of jumping in and bringing teams back above 500 and having success in them right off the bat. So it's going to be, for anything that happens, I like the effort that's being shown right now. This team's fun to watch again, and I think like I would rather watch a team. It sounds weird. I'd rather watch a team lose a 4-2 game or a 6-3 game than I would a 2-1 game.
Yeah.
Or a 1-0 game. Like, it's just it was boring. It was stale. So to see him step in and the players be sort of rejuvenated and energized, and that's where we're going to see, I think, the biggest pop, the biggest push right off the bat. You nailed it right off the top, right? I mean, the Green wasn't absolved from all of this, and I don't think anybody thought that he should be. He probably is a good coach, but we're not going to see that in Vancouver. And I think that we recognize that he wasn't going to be a guy that we were going to see as a quality head coach in Vancouver, just because his time had ran out. And I don't feel like it ran out just this past weekend. I feel like his time ran out like a season and a half ago.
I think he's lucky that they waited that long, right?
And he's lucky to be sitting on that, probably $80,000 or so a month right now for the next year and a half. So,
and we do you guys remember when he got signed, like when he came to the Canucks? And I think we kind of all agreed like he wasn't going to be the guy to see it through, but he was going to be like the stopgap, not the stopgap, but kind of we're going to develop a few of these guys. This is going to be the system we kind of bring in, and then when things need to change, there'll be another guy. So he was never the guy. Right.
I remember being a little bit upset when we brought him in originally because he'd just come in after Willie, and it was kind of like, oh, another inexperienced coach with no NHL experience, right? And so at the end of it, it's just really good to see where Aquilini's kind of woken up, and he's really taking this. I don't know if you can say he wasn't taking it seriously before. Maybe he's just putting too much faith in the guys that he was letting do the job, but he's gone out, he's listening, right? He's gone out and he's found the best coach in the market with one of the best winning records in all of hockey ever. And now he's gone out and he's acquired a president and interim GM who's already in the Hall of Fame as a builder of the NHL. So he's got 3 Stanley Cups in different decades. It's just a lot to look forward to. Like, I mean, the energy, I want to get back to the energy in that building. Like Saturday night, I left. I knew I had tickets to the Monday night game. And I looked at my friend and I said, I don't even want to go on Monday. Like, that was terrible. I don't want to go on Monday. And then Sunday happened. No, I didn't leave early. But Sunday happened, and then all of a sudden it was just like, I can't freaking wait to go to the hockey game.
Like those tickets are worth $1 million.
I don't think I've ever been to a game that's been that fun. Like, the crowd was just rejuvenated into it. We were hearing all sorts of different chants, man. Like, there's nothing you could do to wipe the smile off the faces in Vancouver that night. Like, it was insane. Just a complete 180 flip, and we got exciting hockey again. We do. So
let's get into Sunday. So we're all, I mean, most of us probably watching Sunday Night Football, or Ted, you're probably wrapping presents, or, I don't know what you do, but that sounds like something you'd be doing lately. And I remember I think we were eating dinner, and then, or I was making dinner or something like that. And I just went to check my phone, I think, or maybe check fantasy or something like that. And I just did like a quick Twitter check. I'm like, whoa, whoa. Everything changed in a heartbeat. And now, like, you're freaking out just like everybody else is, right? Like, we're all waiting by like the next tweet, the next second. And it's coming, and you see like Bruce Boudreau is going to be the next coach. And you're like, okay, that makes sense. That also means that they've fired the coach. Like, they didn't announce the firing yet. They announced the coach. Yeah. So you're thinking, okay, so then there's got to be more to this. So then, within 20 minutes, coach is announced. And you're thinking, okay, is the other shoe going to drop? Are they going to get rid of Jim Benning and Weisbrod? And you're thinking, okay. So everybody's freaking out. We're all like, you go on Twitter, like, that was just mayhem. Things were said. Things were said. We don't need to get into that. And then we find out that Jim Benning's gone, and that there's going to be interim GM. And again, like, it's absolute mayhem. Like, my kids thought that the Canucks won the Stanley Cup. Like, that's how nuts it was at home.
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah, my youngest daughter, we were watching the game, and she was like, "Is it the playoffs right now? Is that what's happening?" Because everybody was so excited, right? I mean, that's where we are with this team right now.
It was so different, and it hasn't been that way. I mean, it's been fun. Don't get me wrong. The bubble was a lot of fun as far as winning. Winning feels great, but this felt different. This was not the Canucks that we've known. I mean, since 2012, really. Like there hasn't been that excitement after
it's been the biggest win in 8 years, probably.
But after they lost the final, like they lost the final, and then they go and win the President's Trophy. And yes, I know it's tough to do that, but I mean, I didn't think they were going to be going back to the final that year. They did not look like a President's Trophy team, and it was fairly obvious once they got bounced by LA. And then it slowly just teetered, like the Ryan Kessler, the Wong, all those things. And this was like that first, like, okay, all that stuff, it's not forgotten, but they finally just decided, like, enough. Or maybe not completely. Dead.
No, I think they decided, like you said, enough, right? And then by bringing in Boudreau, it signals that ownership still believes that this is a playoff team, that they took all their figurative eggs over the offseason and put them all in one basket for a big push.
Yeah.
Whether we believed that this team was that team or not, and they needed to see results. They didn't see results in the first X amount of games. So that's why a guy like Boudreau was brought in this time, and not another up and comer like Green. And I didn't hate the Green hiring at the time that it happened, because this was a young roster and it needed developing, and I thought a young coach was right for that.
Yeah.
But this team needs a veteran coach, and this team more than anything needed a players coach. So and even the Rutherford hiring is that signals again that this is like, okay, we need direction for this season, right? I mean, we're
back to basics.
We're back to basics. We're bringing in a quality hockey person, because I'm not going to call him a GM or a president at this point. We're bringing in a high end coach with a roster that we believe is talented enough to make a push, right? So ownership, regardless of what we think, ownership, I believe, thinks that this is still a playoff worthy team. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next little bit here.
Well, what do you believe, Ted? What do you think this team is right now?
I don't think it's a playoff team. I think if they get there, that's amazing.
Season starts over. Is this a playoff team or not?
Well, not if you're 8 games below 500. Imagine starting the season with eight losses right off the bat.
And they're 24 games in too.
No, I just mean, I'm asking you if this was just the start of a regular season, zeros, is this a playoff team?
I like the offense. I think there's a lot of good pieces there, but that defense to me is just it can't do it. And I don't think that you can ask Tyler Myers and
to play 28 minutes.
And even OEL to play that many minutes every night. Because what do we have? Like, if we're being completely honest with one another, what do we have past those three? And I'll be the first guy to say, I'll be the first guy to say that I haven't been a big Tyler Myers fan on this roster, because I think he's been completely misfast. But I do believe that this is a guy out of all the players on this decor that is going to see a massive resurgence. I think that the Boudreau is going to put him in a position as an offensive player, not a shutdown D-man as they've been trying to use him. And they're going to let him sort of wheel and deal a little bit, and they're going to pair him with a guy who can help take care of his own end. And I think you're going to start to see some legit point production come out of Myers. That probably doesn't make him still a great defender, but he's going to turn himself into a top 3 defenseman on this team, where he hasn't been for the last little while. But to answer your question, Brady, I only because of the defense and the lack of center depth on the bottom half of this roster, I just don't think this is a playoff team, and it probably has a little bit more to do with how good the rest of the rosters are in this division, in a long-winded answer.
If I can add a piece to that. So what I've noticed so far on the Bruce era is the PK got better. They moved, Petey's on the PK now.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it.
I saw
we gotta talk best defensive player.
Yeah. We got to talk about this. We got to talk about this.
So we'll get that into a second. And then the other thing was that the power play still looks like the power play. So that clearly hasn't been their primary focus. I think it seems like it's almost been preventing goals before they're scoring them. I mean, like the goals are they are coming. Don't get me wrong, but it does seem like that was clearly an area of weakness, which it obviously is. They're the worst PK in the NHL, but it does look like there is a dedication there to actually killing a penalty now. And Pettersson, I mean, guy gets pulled down on for a penalty shot. Great example of a guy that is a gamer, right? He does want to be better, but the power play is still the same power play it was last week. It's still funneling essentially to one guy. They're not utilizing that bumper guy, the guy down low. And
I think they did a couple times in that game, but that's always sort of the makeup.
Barely. You're right. I know those couple times you're talking about, but barely. Like they weren't utilizing it. It was just kind of there by default. It just kind of happened. So they weren't using it as like we'll put it back and try like a whiplash kind of play.
The power play has almost been like a microcosm of Jim Benning's whole career as a GM, right?
Yeah.
It's like you go out there, you score periodically. Good, that's great. And it's like, hey guys, but we didn't get scored on. Like that's your job. You're supposed to do that.
Yeah. You have
and
more
people,
players.
People are sort of celebrating these like things that you're supposed to do. That's your regular job as big wins, right? Like, he selected Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson. Dude, you're supposed to select those guys at the spots that they were at. I'll give him the PD1 because he went up a little bit, but yeah, you're right, Ryan. The power play hasn't changed yet, but there hasn't been enough time, I think, in practice for them to install anything new.
Yeah, I think that's my argument.
That was exactly, and it hasn't changed immediately. And I'm just judging based on these two games, but the PK does look different. So, of the two things, I mean, hey, I'm all for preventing goals if you can score at 5-on-5. I'll give you that. So, but yeah, Brady, get into the PK.
I think I was pretty much going to say that is the fact that I think for the PK, when you got hungry guys who are willing to prove themselves like Pettersson and Hughes, they're gonna it's a lot easier to go out there and just work really hard defensively, but it takes skill and time to come up with a good power play, especially under a new coach. But like that being said, like I really love the fact that Pettersson and Hughes, like they went directly to Boudreau on the first day and like, hey, I want on the penalty kill. And the fact that he's willing to do that is great, but it also kind of shows you like maybe why some of the reasons why they weren't happy under Green. I mean, obviously they couldn't do that with Green. They couldn't go to him and do that. So the fact that they're doing that right away with Boudreau shows a few different things. Like it shows character, and it shows that they want to win, and it shows they want to be better hockey players. It's exciting, and I think I'm really looking forward to seeing that side of the game and see how that's going to develop and what Boudreau is going to do. I think he's got a lot of good, interesting new ideas. Like I heard he wants to roll 8 guys on the PK, 30-second shifts, like 4 forwards and 4 defensemen. So, I mean, if they can do that, fantastic. I mean, I wouldn't want...
Hopefully not one after the other.
I wouldn't want Hughes or Pettersson being regulars out there, but I think if you can throw them in, 25% of the time, why not?
It's a funny thing, right? I mean, I like to kind of go back because I think of Pettersson in this site, but I think of a guy like Steve Yzerman, who played all those years under arguably the greatest coach in NHL history, and he was
Jeff
just
Blashill.
Really, he was just a dominant offensive player, right? Like just so good, and it wasn't. Detroit didn't start winning cups until Yzerman became a defensive force as well, right? And then they added Fedorov to that mix, and he was a guy that could skate months just playing D, right? So it was like your game is already so good offensively, and yeah, it's down a little bit because of confidence or whatever, but like I think continuing to grow a guy that has that kind of skill. I mean, we've all seen it. How many times have we said that we think Pettersson is the most skilled defensive forward on this roster? So why not utilize him in that sense? If he's not helping you on your PK or your power play right now, let him loose on the PK and see what he can do. There's no end to what he can do for this roster, and if you're not going to utilize him to that point, then I just think it's a bit of a waste. So I'm glad to see him rolling him out there on the penalty kill.
And I mean, look at the penalty kill against Boston. I mean, they were generating scoring chances more than Boston's power play was at times.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's. I was gonna say he's like a high end like Swiss Army knife, but it's not really that. It's almost just like He's just like a high-end, like luxury tool that
he's just good at everything. He's
Yeah.
like it's like a baseball player you call a 5-tool player. There's only so many guys that are 5-tool players, right? And Pettersson potentially is a 5-tool guy.
And if he's not performing, it's like, why not send him out there and let him work on his defensive game? Let him get better at those sides of the game. Make him more of an all-around player instead of kind of just having this one side to him that's clearly not working right now.
You're right. He can still help you in other areas, and I think it's good to see that being utilized.
Let's take a quick break here. Speaking of utilization, if you haven't utilized the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0, what the heck are you doing? Christmas is just about here, and Manscaped has the gift that keeps on trimming. They're the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, and they've got you covered this holiday season. Now available in your country, that's Canada. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to trim their trees and keep those ornaments polished. Go to manscaped.com. Use code PP20. We picked that, so you better use it. 20% off at checkout and free shipping. It's time to kill 2 birds with 1 trimmer and get yourself and your lady a gift. I'm talking about that Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. You guys even know what that is? Do you even know? That's what we're talking about. That is what we're talking about. What you get inside that package, you get the Performance Package 4.0. You get the Signature Lawnmower 4.0. It's electric. It trims. It's got skin-safe technology.
Ryan, water resistant?
Ryan, what's skin-safe technology? It means when you're going against your skin's safe. It's water resistant. You can use it in the shower. It's got a cool LED light. So even, maybe start with the lights on when you're doing that. Don't just assume like, hey, I got a night light. Let's go crazy here. Let's be safe. Let's be grown-ups about this. You can trim. You can get those little pesky hairs that maybe are getting away from you. Like I said, you can use it in the shower. It's a gift for your partner as well. Maybe your lady wants to give it a try. Like I said, works in the dark. It also has the crop preserver. Basically, your and the crop reviver, anti-chafing ball deodorant, moisturizer, and toner. This stuff works. It is for you. Go to manscaped.com. PP20 code PP20, and I'm going to put that on the screen just so you guys don't forget. Code PP20 at manscaped.com. Get 20% off at checkout and free shipping. Manscaped. Take care of yourself. So that was a pretty good ad read. You guys. Sick. We're not all about seriousness. Like we do talk about some fun things. It's been a pretty fun week. We've from Sunday on, it's been a good time. Not quite a long time yet, but it's been a good time. We are getting close to Christmas, and I hate getting into these, but at the same time, if everybody else is doing it, we might as well too. Best Christmas TV cartoon.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I don't know that many Christmas cartoons. What about Christmas movies? You just seem
like the guy that knows them all. Like if I had to pick on one,
I know a bunch of Christmas movies. I can only think of like 2 cartoons off the top of my head.
These are like the Christmas specials you watch every single Christmas. They're on like 80 times. Okay, do you have a favorite one?
Do I have? I've got a couple.
It doesn't have to be the best, but do you have a favorite one?
I was always partial to the claymation Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Mm-hmm. That was a staple growing up. Charlie Brown Christmas Tree was a staple growing up.
For sure.
I feel like it's hard to top the Grinch in any format.
Grinch is like the GOAT, I think, right?
Right. Grinch is the GOAT. So I think if everybody feels like Grinch is the GOAT, then I'd probably go with classic claymation Rudolph.
Okay.
Not bad.
Yeah.
What about
Misfits, yeah.
What about you, Rye?
You know what? I'm a Garfield guy. Remember the Garfield one with the it's at Christmas time?
I don't.
He went. There was Grandma. Remember, he became friends with Grandma, and it's a good one. You should check it out. It'll be on YouTube because everything else is. But Garfield and even at Christmas time, like he's boys with Odie. Like he's got his boy covered, right?
His boys with Odie.
And John Boy, and like it's just one of those ones. Like it's kind of silly, but Garfield goes from being the typical Mondays, blah 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 blah. And he makes some stuff happen, and even he believes in Christmas after that. So Garfield's my choice.
I would probably have to go. Like the Grinch would be my number one, but since we're not going there, Frosty the Snowman.
Yeah, Frosty was a good one. Good pick.
But strangely enough, I really liked the live action Michael Keaton version. don't remember what it was called, but it was
Jack Frost.
Jack Frost. Yeah. Jack Frost. That's the one. There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
And then he pulls off his head. He's like, I'm Batman. No,
if you're going to throw it out there, honorable mention probably to Mickey's Christmas Carol.
That's a good one too. It's crushing, that one.
I was trying to figure out what I sounded like there, and I think I was ripping Don Taylor there a little bit.
Oh, you were
listening. Gary, you forgot your pen there. Pick it up. Oh, there you go.
I think Frosty should have ripped.
Shout out to Don Taylor.
I'm Batman. Sounded like a young Don Taylor.
A young Don Taylor. Does that mean you're wearing blue jeans right now, Brady?
Yeah. Ooh, looks like Nagy heard his lattice slap there.
Yeah. The Dark Knight, Miroslav Satan, spends a little bit of time at Sportsnet, and all of a sudden he's channeling in his inner Don Taylor.
Ryan, you're lucky if I'm wearing pants right now. All right.
Who knows where you dropped that pen?
Interesting. So let's get back.
Gary Volk in Penticton.
Gary Volk's a pretty cool guy. I met him at I think I've been in a few Canucks games where I saw him when I was living down there. So he frequents the Canucks. Usually has his leather jacket on and slick back hair, and he's a Canuck though, so nothing but love.
Do you think Volky identifies himself as a Canuck or a Maple Leaf?
I think a Canuck.
Do you think so?
I would hope Canuck.
Played more better years in Toronto.
He lives in Vancouver. That's the be all end all right there.
Okay, I stand corrected.
That decides everything. Where you live last is where you decide. Like, what if you lived in Arizona? Yeah, what if you lived in Arizona? That was a risk we were willing to take. Oh boy, Toronto, those jokers. You know what? Actually, speaking of Toronto, I was speaking with our good friend Danny Maggs from the Leafs fan cast. They're a bunch of characters.
Yeah,
and I think to say the least.
They do it different out there. There's something in the water. Yeah,
they do it different. That's for sure. Danny, if you're watching or listening, thank you. That's it. But because we'll be playing the Leafs pretty soon, so we'll maybe get him on for a post game or something like that.
Yeah, I like Danny, but fuck those guys.
Yeah, basically, exactly. It's pretty much how I feel as well. Brady, have you met Danny?
Nope.
Okay, so they've been trying to get me on the show. I'm like, well, you guys go when I'm working still, like at 3:00 in the afternoon. Yeah, I can't just hop on a podcast mid work. So yeah, unless it's my own.
Fair enough.
Unless it's my own. So anyway, we will hook up with him. We'll get him on our show, and it'll be good. Travis Hamonic. The story of him continues. He's injured. OEL was injured. Brady, being that you live down there, have you heard any updates? I know that Noel Juleson got recalled.
He did.
But what's the scoop on the injured guys?
It's sounding like Travis Hamonic. He just got put on IR today, so minimum 1 week. I don't know if I have any news outside of that for Hamonic, but like judging from the hit, it looked pretty nasty. I would say it's good to see him not on LTIR yet. So hopefully it's somewhere 2 to 3 weeks, I would think. Because I think it's a month for LTIR, I think. So, hopefully just a couple weeks. Kind of cool to see Noah Juleson come up. That could be good. But back to OEL, he was a game time decision, but I did hear through the grapevine today that it's potentially a broken toe. I'm not sure if that would keep him out very long. I don't think it would. Maybe a week or two. It's something you can play through, I think, but it just depends on the situation. So hopefully not too long on either of them. I think could be back to having them both in 2 to 3 weeks time. I think OEL's definitely going to be back earlier, but who knows?
That's the plight of this roster, right? I mean, a guy like Hamonic goes down.
It's the end of the world.
Who I think is a very average NHL defender. And this team is hurting now badly because of it. And now we're looking at we're asking guys like Noah Juleson now to come in and play a 7th, possible 6th role. We're asking guys like Burrows now to take more responsibility. We're asking guys like Shen to step up and play more minutes, which we know doesn't always work out that well. He's really good in like a 6-7 spot. And that's a challenge. And that's, I think, that's I think why I answered that way when you asked at the start of the show whether I thought this was a playoff team or not. And I think it's virtually the same roster that it was at the start of the season, so I would kind of carry my same answer home. But I think that if they're all in, like I believe ownership still thinks they are, and trying to make this into a playoff team by making the moves they made, then I think a trade probably is still upcoming to try to find themselves another defender.
I think it's that Brock Besser trade you're talking about.
And then they've got Jack Rapp.
That is becoming, yeah. But that for me is becoming more of a reality every single day, especially now that we have an interim GM who is apparently not afraid to make big moves. I also heard that he apparently in his tenure as GM in Pittsburgh, and I find this hard to believe, but he averaged almost one trade per month.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of those were like minor league level trades, but you're right. He makes a lot of trades.
It's itchy trigger finger, hey.
He even traded for one Eric Goodbranson
and a Tanner Pearson.
So he's traded away and traded for Tanner Pearson, and he's traded Brandon Sutter away twice.
Yeah, and now he has Pearson and Sutter, which is fucking.
What's he gonna do? Is he gonna trade them both away? He can't. Pearson's got a no movement clause this year.
Sutter's hurt too.
You couldn't move that contract, but yeah.
Maybe for Evander Kane. Maybe for Evander Kane.
Have they given any updates on Brandon Sutter? Like, is there any like new information aside from long hauler?
I don't think so. I would be surprised if it feels like we're not going to see him this year at all.
It just sucks because like we joke about him. He signs that like the team friendly deal, and then you start thinking, well,
too good to be true.
A great guy to have on the exactly. He could come in, he'd help out the penalty kill. We've now got him as a 3-4 center. All of a sudden, like now other guys can move up. Oh, that was fun while it lasted.
How much would he actually help this team right now? I feel like he would help a lot.
Badly a lot.
I mean, all of this complaining that we're doing, and maybe it's just me that's complaining about Jason Dickinson's safe face-off ability. I think that would have just shielded him so much, and really allowed Dickinson to do what we need him to do, right? So,
although I would say, go ahead, Ted.
Oh, it's not like he's been just shit awful, but it's tough when you start without the puck every single shift.
But I would say, like in his defense, yeah, he hasn't been great. Like he has definitely not been like good. He's not living up to that 2.6. But I would say he's had his best 2 games under Boudreau,
and he's looked good. We've finally seen the wheels a little bit too. I think if this really high pressure forechecking system that Boudreau implements to just like generate just a fuck ton of shots on net, I think we're gonna like Dickinson in that role.
But what's happening on the faceoff circle? Like, what is happening? Like, how do you go from being an above 50% faceoff guy, or at least I thought he was, to 40% to like the worst on the team?
I don't think that he's been an above 50% faceoff guy.
Yeah, maybe I'd have to look into that some more. But
I think he's actually been traditionally a poor faceoff.
Then why was he sold as such a good centerman who can win draws?
He was sold as a high-end defensive forward.
Okay, yeah, maybe I'm wrong on that.
He was sold as a better Roussel, and that's not true. Although we don't even know what Roussel's doing. We know what Louis is doing. He's getting like the king treatment out in Arizona. But maybe that's because we put all the money into the graphics department and not into the rent.
So Brady we'll take out his first 3 seasons because he only played a total of like 40 games.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
42, 43, 46, and 39. So he's 10 points lower than his normal average. We could use him winning 46% of his draws right now, honestly.
Yeah, he came into Vancouver with a career 44.3. So no, he's never actually once been above 500. So my bad there. I guess I was sold on him. So
what the hell, man? You can't remember every single guy's stats for their whole career?
Come on.
I'm usually pretty good at that, Ted. All right. Usually pretty good at that.
How do you not remember everybody?
Yeah. Quick, name Jason Dickinson's career face-off win percentage. I guess you don't
man,
know.
I got in this casual conversation with this fan on the SkyTrain home, and he kept dropping all these wrong numbers of how much Ekman Larson was and how much Myers cost, and it's like the part of me just wanted to correct him every single time, but it's just like, what's the point? No, I shouldn't be doing that. So.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get off at my stop here. It's like, yeah. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, Erickson gets paid $9.5 million. Yeah.
I remember we were up at the lake a couple years ago. our summer little getaway there. And the one guy
just to reiterate, this is you traveling to Prince George
for
the summer. Okay, just
beautiful spot.
It is. Hey, one day. Anyway, so we're sitting around the campfire, and I can't remember. We were just talking about like signings and stuff, and he's like, "Yeah," I was like, "Yeah, the Canucks traded back for Todd Bertuzzi." Like, I'm pretty sure I'd remember that, and because he was still in the league, and I think he was with Detroit at the time. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's with Detroit still. And oh no, I'm like, all right. So like in my head, I'm thinking, I mean, it could have happened. We haven't had Wi-Fi for a couple days, but oh yeah, they did it back in. And like, I'm not going to get into this gentleman, but let's just say I knew he was definitely wrong for multiple reasons, alcohol being one of them. But I'm just kind of sitting there. So it's stupid me. I'm like, if there's a 1% chance he's right, I need to know this. So I went back. I'm like, yeah, what an idiot. Just okay, I'm right. He's wrong. Perfect. Todd Bertuzzi, he would never come back. Yeah. So that's my random story about talking about guys that are worth $9.5 million. So I got a dog that doesn't want to be in this room anymore.
I know this isn't on the rundown, and we've been kind of going our own little direction, but I think we got to talk about like just Quinn Hughes and just how quietly great he's been this year. I'm looking at his stats right now. He's holding a +4. That's the best out of any defenseman on the team. It's second best on the team, only behind Connor Garland. I know plus minus isn't the greatest stats, but that's something he was pretty proud of right now, being -24 last year.
I think
plus minus isn't the best counting stat, but when it's on your team and you're the only plus player and you play more than anybody else on the roster and you're a plus, that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Like when you see guys like Pettersson and Besser who are -7 and -5 respectively, then yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty good, especially when you're playing 28 minutes a night.
So let's talk a little bit about Quinn Hughes, because I dropped a tweet earlier this week saying that if there was one untradeable asset on this roster,
he's the guy.
That to me, it would be he's the guy. But you guys brought up some other names, and I got shit on a lot for saying that. There was a lot of people saying I'm sleeping on Pettersson. There was lots of people saying that all the untouchables are Miller, Besser, Pettersson.
Like, well, yeah, we know that
they're not untouchables.
But I mean, Höglander, Podkolzin, it was like it's just like all these are untouchables, like 9 or 10 names long. Like that's not the truth either. I know you guys brought up Demko's name a couple times, and I have my thoughts about Demko, who I love. Like, don't get me wrong, about why he might be a tradable asset versus an untouchable. But yeah, I mean, to me, the only guy is Hughes. But I mean,
I think you're right. Yeah.
If we were arguing it to the death, like I brought up Demko about how I think that I believe to find that caliber of a goaltender is tough. But that being said, if you don't have Quinn Hughes, like there are a handful of those types of guys in the NHL at one given generation, right? Like we've got Cale Makar, we've got Quinn Hughes, we've got what's his pickle? Is it Robertson? There's a couple other guys out there as well, and I know I'm missing guys. Yeah, there are a handful of guys in this version. There used to be a handful of guys as well. Like you can't just get Duncan Keith back in the day. You can't just get like the Keith and Seabrooks when PK Subban was at his height, or Shea Weber. Like there's only so many of those guys that exist usually as a defenseman, and that is probably one of the toughest positions to get because usually you only draft them. It's pretty rare that you sign one or you trade for one. It just doesn't happen. So
when you trade for them out of their prime. Right? And
exactly.
Subban and Weber are a perfect example of that.
Exactly.
And Carlson, same thing.
Yeah. So you're not getting them when you'd like to have them. I mean, yeah, we've had some players on the Canucks where, Sammy Salo was still up and coming. Again, I'm not comparing Sammy Salo to Quinn Hughes, but they did get him on the upswing of his trajectory, right? But not at all the same as Quinn Hughes. I'm just saying, to find those elite players, you're only getting them through the draft. So as great as Thatcher Demko is, if I had to have a hill to die on, then yeah, I would probably have to stick with Quinn Hughes because there's no way you could get him again.
Yeah, I think my process on the Demko thing was if somebody came along and and this was a rebuilding team. Obviously, this is a team that looks like it's still going to try to make a push. But if somebody came along and this was a rebuilding team and offered you a nice haul of prospects and a pick and somebody that you could look at building your team around for the next little while for a starting goaltender, because that team needed a starting goaltender, I mean, I think you would have to honestly explore making that trade, right? I mean,
sure.
You have Ian Clark on this roster, who's one of the best goaltending coaches in all of the NHL. And if he identifies that he can develop or bring somebody along in similar ilk or status as a Thatcher Demko or a Jacob Markstrom, I mean, those guys look eerily similar in net to one another. Then you kind of have to trust that, right? I believe that there is more than just 30 starting goaltenders or 32 starting goaltenders in the world right now. And I believe some teams have more than one of them and some teams don't have any of them, right? So I think that you can probably find that. I think it's a replaceable quantity. That's why goaltenders aren't picked in the first round anymore. So I wouldn't think of them as a non-tradable asset. Pettersson's a funny one too, right? Because who on earth would want to trade Pettersson? But we said earlier on the show, like a couple weeks back, that if somebody, Buffalo came calling and they wanted to give up Eichel
or Barzal
or whatever, and it required Pettersson going back the other way, I mean, we have to seriously think about doing that. Whereas if it's Hughes, like you said, Ryan, you just can't replace a guy like that. So I wouldn't make that trade.
Yeah.
Hey, fun fact: Sami Salo had over 40 injuries in his NHL career.
I'm surprised the number is that small.
That's not fun. I was also going to say it's got to be more than that.
He had 40 injuries and one to his balls.
Yeah. Same with Nick Lidstrom. Ruptured testy. I
was going to post that video today. Did you guys see, I think Pucks on Net had it on their Instagram or something, where the two brothers playing mini sticks? And they have like the little soccer ball for the ball, and he just like drills his brother in the nuts. Like just drops him, and then he looks back at the camera. I watched that like 6 times. It was so awesome. It was so great. Like it's one of those ones like, I've been there. It sucks. I've also been on the other side. I've been the hit E or the hitter.
The hitter.
Yeah. The hitter.
Let's get to those questions. Brady, I'm gonna run these by you. You can answer them. We're gonna also, I hate to say it, we are gonna ask the first question. Jennifer Schvaro, here we go. She's got a handful, so I brought it out there. So first and foremost, Brady, you get to answer these questions.
Oh,
so
yay. Okay, here we go.
First one from Jennifer. Why was 6 afraid of 7?
This is the first joke I ever learned. And if you want to know the...
Fun fact.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, seriously, I can remember it.
This is something. Okay.
Because 7, 8, 9, Ryan. Okay. Because 7, 8, 9.
And then Jennifer responded, "Gotta watch out for 7. He plays dirty."
Yeah. Also, he's hungry.
Yeah, he's a hungry hippo.
He
I said, I asked to be serious. This is a serious podcast.
It is. Only serious questions, please.
Serious questions. Yeah. So with the sudden new changes to your front office at the Canucks, she means, where do you see the Canucks finishing at the end of the regular season? So let's answer that kind of quickly. Brady, you have some optimism to you, so I'm going to go to you first.
I'm going to say 1 point out, 9th place.
That's fair.
And that would be a tremendous improvement if that happened.
That's right. Ted, did you know that we're only 7 points out of a playoff spot right now? 7.
It's crazy.
How about you?
Much.
How about you, Manscaped?
I'm going to side with B on this one. I think we just miss, and it's going to be nasty. But for once, we're going to be watching exciting hockey. I think right up until the end of the year, and I would just love to be proved wrong on this.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be top 10 draft pick.
Top 10. That's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty safe.
Is that 1 point out? I guess. Is that the same thing?
It's pretty close. But
no, well then I'm sorry. I'm not gonna
go top 5 draft pick. All right, get us something.
Top 5 draft pick. There you go.
That'd be nice.
I miss out.
Well, I just to add on to the number jokes. What do you call numbers?
I don't know how it gets worse.
What do you call numbers that are always on the move?
I don't know,
guys. Roman numerals.
That's great.
I love that.
I learned that from my math teacher in high school when I first got to high school.
Roman numerals.
Roman
love
numerals. Yeah.
You got one, Ryan? You got one?
Not as no.
Why
Number...
was the 0 jealous of the 8? Because of his new designer belt. I'll stop.
I'm gonna cry off.
Go, Ryan. Jeez.
Number 2. Thoughts on Trouba's last?
I got one more joke. Okay?
Oh yes.
Okay.
There are 36 sheep. Why did the shepherd count 40? He rounded them up.
Oh. You're not even a dad, and I'll give you that one. That's good.
As far as we know.
I like that one a lot.
That's good. That's good. This is quickly going south, so I'm going to ask a question to get it back on track. Thoughts on Trouba's last 2 hits? Have you guys seen them?
Nope.
You've seen the Jujar one, right?
Yep.
That's one.
Filthy dirty.
I don't have it. No, I don't.
Keep your head on a swivel, bud.
He got absolutely rocked. He got knocked unconscious.
He got Eric Lindros.
Eric Lindros. Full show.
He got put on a
doing
poster.
well. But and then against what was the other one now? Rangers.
Was it McKinnon?
Against McKinnon, yeah. Absolutely lays out McKinnon.
Completely clean though. He turned into it.
It's hockey, even on the Kara hit. Hockey, and we've probably said this last week, if I'm not mistaken. It's such a fast sport, and we're all looking slow-mo like, here's where the primary contact was. Even playing beer league, you can even be playing like just shinny with your buddies and like bumping around and stuff. Like, you don't mean to hit the exact point. Maybe sometimes you do. I mean, I'll allow that. But realistically, as fast as the NHL is, or the WHL even, everything is happening so fast. The players are insanely quick, and you're throwing around weight like it's a roller derby out there. It's going to happen. Some guys, it probably happens to a little bit more. You're allowed to hit in hockey. And, I mean, it was a monster hit, that first one. Technically, it was a clean hit. It wasn't appealing.
He got a bit of chin.
He finished, like, there was a finish there, but it wasn't starting.
He got a bit of chin, though. I don't know. It was a clean hit in where Kara was. It was a clean hit when he hit him. It was a clean hit how he fell to the ice. I would just say that he got chin in addition to chest.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's all. I would say the act of making the hit was clean. I think he was like a smidge high, but I don't think he did it on purpose. No. That being said, if you accidentally high stick a guy, it's a penalty.
But let's be real. Like, a guy with his head down is going to get hit in the head.
No.
With a guy coming straight at his chest, he's going to get hit in the head. What's the first point of contact? Your head sticks out that much more than your chest.
I mean, it doesn't help, but you don't have to hit a guy in the head. Like, it's you don't have to hit a guy in the head. Like, you can drop your shoulder too. Like, it happens all the time in football, right? I mean, guys go head to head, they go head to head low, they go head to head high. When a running back is running at a corner or a linebacker, he lowers his head, and what's the first thing that a running back or a linebacker does to combat that?
But the hitting is so much different from those two sports.
He lowers his head too. I'm just saying, if a guy has his head down, it doesn't mean you have to hit him in the head.
But in hockey, you're hitting and you're staying on your feet, right? In football, you're going down with your hit. You are following your whole body through. You're jumping.
Not necessarily.
That's a tackle, though. I'm talking about a hit. Like, I'm talking when you lay a hit on a guy, right?
But you can load up a guy and
you truck a guy. You mean?
You can, but you can still truck a guy and you don't have to hit the head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you can still blow up a guy.
I understand. It's when a guy puts it right there, it is more difficult to avoid it. But you can avoid it. But like Ryan was saying, like you were saying, it happens fast.
But what's the first rule of
hockey? I'm not saying he meant to keep your head up, obviously. I'm not saying he meant to hit him in the head, but he did get some chin. Ryan, you were just saying that it's a clean hit. I'm saying I think he got a bit of chin. I don't think it was perfectly clean.
Yeah. I mean, they're all pretty close. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Shoulder and chin. You throw a whole body at that, you're going to hit a few things. Final question.
Say that's Tyler Myers taking that hit. What's he supposed to do?
Well, he probably killed someone at that point. He's just that much bigger than everybody else.
The McKinnon hit was also massive.
Yeah.
I actually haven't seen it yet, but I was hearing about it.
I'll let you check it out after. Here's the final question, then we're going to get to dudes and guys. Welcome back.
It was also borderline head. Going to show that too.
If you could change 3 things about the league what would they be? So let's each take one because we'll be here forever if we each pick three.
What if we all have three things? Holy shit.
Do you have
so many things that I want. Yeah, can I only pick 3?
Okay, fine.
Why don't you guys go, and if I have other shit, I'll take that up.
Okay, I'll pick one. The one thing I would love to see
I probably
in hockey.
pick 3. If you got 3, go for 3.
Okay, actually, yeah, I've got a couple. Okay.
Let's go. Let's do
one.
This.
You guys probably won't like some of these, but this is how I feel. So
we'll trade off back.
This is my moment. I would love to get rid of the whole no icing rule on the PK. I think if they could dump the puck and not ice it, that'd be way better. It would cause way more goals, be way more offensive game.
Okay.
And I also kind of like the idea, kind of like in soccer, where if a team is pressing in the late in the period, like have the ref play it out until the defense gets the puck out, or something along the lines of, or maybe something where as long as the puck's or if the puck's been shot, it wouldn't be injury time, but it would be like
that idea.
If they're pressuring, like, you know, and it comes down to like that. Like, I don't like the instant buzzer, and if there's something they can do around that, maybe basketball style where the shot has to be gone before the buzzer goes,
like a buzzer beater,
or like a soccer added time thing, something along those lines would be interesting to see.
I'll give you if the puck's off the stick and then the time goes. I'll give you that. I don't know if I could do with added time. I just feel like there's going to be teams that, I mean, let's I don't know. Like,
I think the team should have to get it out of past the blue line. Like, get it past the blue line.
Yeah, if you have possession in the offensive zone, you just keep.
It's intriguing.
You're thinking about adding like an extra 30 seconds or something like that.
It's intriguing.
Yeah.
I'll give it
even just an extra 5 seconds. You know, if they're pressuring and it comes down, if like the puck goes across the line, and it's like a split second after the buzzer. It's like, come on, you know, let's see some overtime.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, each period too.
I would be cool with seeing that like in an experimental form in like the dub or something like that, just to see how, or the AHL, like whatever.
Yeah, I don't even know if I would like it if it came through. I'd like to see it.
You want to see it happen? Do you have a third one? Because now I have 3.
Not off the top of my head. I can keep thinking though. You go.
Okay, I got 3. I'm gonna run 3. Screw you, Ted. So trapezoid gone. High sticking.
I like the trapezoid.
No, it's stupid.
Why is it stupid?
Why is it stupid? Because it was created for 2 goaltenders and neither of them play anymore. It was. You have to admit, it was a rule for 2 goalies, and it just ruins it. They get rid of it in international play, so it's only exclusive to the NHL. That's it.
Fair enough.
Well, in dubs, like they bring you up in, you know what I mean. That's one. High sticking penalty, blood or no blood, it's the same penalty. You can determine if it was. You can determine the severity of what he did and then give 4 minutes. But I'm sorry, blood, whether it's a nick or he's gushing and they got to rush him off the ice, I'm sorry, you can't determine one is equal to the other. It's just not. So you have to get away with the blood.
Okay.
And then delay of game, you got to figure that out. You got to.
You don't like delay of game?
Over the glass, it screws both teams. I mean, it's good and it's bad. They need to figure that out or change what that is, because I think it's just too dicey. There needs to be a change of that. I'm not necessarily saying get rid of it, but they need to retool it, because I think it's kind of hokey.
Because
you can clear it. Like, think about it.
Get the glass up a little higher, an extra foot.
Yeah, we can do that. But like, as soon as you're out of your zone, like, it depends on where you clear it from. If it's in your zone and you clear it out, it's a penalty. If it happens in like the neutral zone or something, or in the opposite end, let's say you clear it in the attacking zone, it's not a penalty. Is it not only in your own zone?
It's only in your defensive zone.
So that's stupid. So now you're penalizing, like, this is the only area where it's applicable. You can do it wherever else you want.
So the goalie clearing the glass is a penalty. You don't like that?
I don't like when anyone does it.
I just think it helps it keeps the play going more.
Yeah, the whole idea was that,
and it creates more offense.
Yeah, is that players used to just do it on purpose all the time.
Yeah, exactly. You could just flip it out,
flip it over the glass, like, no problem, right? Because it just kills the play.
Like I said, I think
penalize the goalie.
It just needs to be tweaked then, and that's what I said. I don't necessarily think they have to get rid of it, but it needs to be tweaked. There needs to be some kind of a change where it works better.
I do have a third, and I think everyone would agree with it.
Well, you got to wait for it because you had your opportunity. It's Ted's turn.
Okay, you're right.
You
Go
better
ahead,
hope
Ted.
it's still good.
So I can just rattle off 3?
You get 3. That's it.
Okay. First thing that's got to go, or at least it's got to change, is the cap recapture penalty.
Yes.
I think it's fucking stupid. I also think it's stupid that only one team has ever been penalized by it.
What team is that again, Ted?
Yeah, exactly.
Montreal.
I think the league uses the rule to threaten and then finds a way around not penalizing a team when it's so bad that it would actually cripple a franchise, a la Montreal Canadiens, Shea Weber, so on and so forth.
Like it hasn't crippled the Canucks.
Well, it has, but they've left that number really small. So either you take it away from Vancouver or you apply it to other teams, this bullshit injury shit. Like, come on, Johan Franzen, give me a fucking break.
I love this.
It's the stupidest rule. And worse, they retroactively fitted it back onto Vancouver when deals had already been made in advance of.
It's trash. No, I agree.
You couldn't even have attempted to circumvent the rule because it was a rule that was already existent. Rule number 1. Change out cap recapture penalty, do something different with it because its current format is stupid. It was short-sighted and stupid.
There's got to be more to that, eh? There's got to be more to why the Canucks are penalized.
I don't know.
The explanation doesn't make sense. They knew it was going to happen. Well, so did every other freaking team.
Yeah. It's just, even the numbers attached to cap recapture.
The Shea Weber one bugs me the most.
So ridiculous.
Yeah. Nashville should be out like 26 mil.
Right. But the rule's done, and they actually shouldn't be out 26 mil, especially for someone else's mistake. So, by someone else, I mean the league for making it a thing, right? You made a shitty rule, the teams found a way around it, now you're penalizing them. Dumb.
Yeah.
Dumb. So that's my first one. Second one would be the league's complete inability to react to things going on outside of the league. Like, the league thinks they're the biggest thing in the world. Hockey culture is so stupid sometimes, and it makes me embarrassed to be an NHL fan when things like BLM come along or the Chris Beach thing come along, dealt with late, swept under the rug. Like, how can you not get out in front of this thing and be a leader in an industry? Instead, you have to wait until 4 other leagues do it, and then you're like, shit, we already decided we weren't going to do it. We should do it now. Fan backlash has been too strong. Somebody put out a nice statement, and we'll say we're on board. It's cowardice. It's stupid. And I think the league needs to better job at setting an example. Go ahead, Ryan.
Can I piss you off like one more step from what you just said?
Yeah, you can tell I'm like a little bit fired up right now.
Did you see what came out today?
Yeah, I was gonna say something came out on that today.
The NHL released a mandatory 90-minute like online presentation that all like front offices and everybody has to watch, like based on like here's the things like based on all these
culture
things
change,
a culture change, and like all these things. I'm like 90 minutes that'll fix it. Here's a 90-minute online presentation. You guys have to. Oh, okay. I'm totally aware of everything going on now. I can fix racism. I can fix sexual assault. Like, okay, 90 minutes. I think I can make this happen. Sure.
The NHL it's helpful that it's happening, but it's almost like putting lipstick on the pig, right? Like, it's not going to solve the big problem, but I appreciate that you're making attempts. Please do more. So this whole idea, hockey is the only sport out of all the big sports in the world that you have to have money to make to get into it. Like, you have to be able to afford $1,000 a year for league fees and ice times and blah, 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 and all these things. All the other sports, you can make it as a poor person and come up, but it's such an elitist sport, and it has that elitist attitude, and that just needs to go away. So anyways, that's my rant for that one. And if I have my third one, what is the point of telling teams that players have a body injury or a lower body injury or an upper body injury? What is it, a gym day? Like, I'm doing upper body today. No, I'm doing lower body today. Also, the stupidest thing that I've ever heard of. Disclose what the injury is with the players so they know how long they're going to be out. The NFL does it. All the other leagues do it. Why is the NHL so different? They think that, if other players know what's going on, they're going to target him. Every other league is fine. Why is this one different? I'm not going to add fighting to this one, but those would be my 3 beefs if I could.
The one thing I would add to that is why they would protect those players is, out of any sport, hockey players are the type of guys that are going to go out there and play injured. So when you know of an injury, it's a lot easier to target.
I mean, how is that?
But how many guys have you seen?
To be honest, I don't think that's a league rule. I think that's a coach's decision on what they want to say about an injury.
Well, it could be the coach's decision, could be the NHLPA, but like, how do all of the other big leagues in the world survive?
But they don't play injured.
But they do play injured. You can't say that football players don't play injured.
100%. Those guys are drugged up to play.
If you go ask Jarvis Landry if he's playing injured, or look at Robert Griffin III when he played on a surgically repaired.
Is it comparable to like NHL?
I would say so.
Like Patrice Bergeron in 2011.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, who knows? Maybe because I just don't know enough about it. I wouldn't say that baseball does it. I wouldn't say that. I mean, I'm probably going to get shit on for this. I wouldn't say that soccer does it. I would say that rugby does it. I would say that the NFL does it. I don't know about basketball, but there are teams who disclose injuries. Where those
baseball discloses them crazily. Like he'll be out with a broken fingernail or something, like a pitcher, right? They'll talk about like a fingernail or a blister, like absolutely all the time. Blister.
Yeah.
And you'll think like, wow, he's out with a blister. Like, have you ever thrown a 100-mile-an-hour fastball with a blister on that finger? You haven't. I promise. And if you try, you're going to scream in pain. So yeah, I could get why if he's getting paid $100 million, they're going to keep him out for a day or two. Makes sense.
Yeah. So those would be my beefs. I got my 3 beefs. I know you had an extra.
I like yours. Those were very well thought out. My third one would obviously just be the offside challenge. Absolutely.
You weren't really angry about any of those, Ted. Sorry, Brady, what was yours? You added yours in there.
The offside challenge, obviously, it's got to go.
So you think
I hate it?
It just goes
It's just stupid. It's like you're gonna have like an inch take away a goal when
go back to.
It's ridiculous. Error. Get rid of the refs if you're gonna do that.
So you're thinking go back to human error.
Yeah.
Okay.
No more offside challenge.
Yep. I'm fine with that.
Stupid challenge. You can challenge other plays, but you can't challenge offside. That's dumb.
Challenge a goal. Well, I mean, they challenge for a high stick, right?
Like imagine scoring like the Stanley Cup winner and you get to take it back because you were like that much offside.
Well, they have an in the crease. that was pretty good.
There's an in the crease winner. That's right. Yeah.
That is that's probably the most notorious one.
Notorious.
We are.
Okay, here we go. This is our famous segment, and I didn't have it preloaded, so I apologize. Whoops. There we go. Sorry, song's loading. You'll notice in a second. What the hell? Oh, sorry, gang. I wasn't doing my job here. So now I present you with our famous segment, Dudes and Guys.
Dude, what does mine say? You guys! Dude, what does mine say? Guys!
I mean, you really wonder with that bomb at the end. You really do.
Shit's like our football one,
hey? Yeah. Well, Brady, welcome back to Dudes and Guys. Welcome back to the show. This is the first true Dudes and Guys we've had, and we're going a little bit over time, but there's been a lot to talk about. Clearly, the Christmas cartoon conversation was must see, must listen. So, as is this. So, Dudes and Guys, brought to you by Summerskates. Brady, we're doing guys first, obviously, right?
Tough week to pick a guy, man. Jeez. Okay, you want me to start things off?
I absolutely do.
I'm gonna go with a little guy I like to call Nils Höglander.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think he's kind of fallen into a bit of a sophomore slump. He's kind of quiet and hasn't been playing as good as he was in his rookie year, to say the least. He's got 10 points through almost 30 games. And, let's see, what has he got? He's got 0 points in his last 5.
He's been hustling, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's a hustler. He always is, but the point production's not there, and it's got to start coming. I mean, I don't like to shit on the guy, but 0 points through, from what I can see, his last 5 games, maybe even more than that. So, guy of the week for me is Nils Höglander.
That's fair. Ted.
This is the last time I'm going to be able to do it, and it's probably the only time that I've ever done it. But guy of the week's Jim Benning. See you later.
Low hanging fruit.
Hit you on the way out.
Low hanging fruit.
Bye.
Any reasons why?
Oh, I don't know if we have.
I got 8 years, bud. How much time you got?
Let me go back into the memory banks here and see what I can dig up.
I'm going to go with Tucker Poolman.
It was the Brendan Leipzig signing. That's what put me over the edge.
Yes, that was it. Hey, like I was,
yeah, that was brutal.
The good Branson double down, but Brendan Leipzig, no.
Worst crew ever.
If you're gonna double down, you double down on Erica Branson.
No kidding. I'm gonna go with Mother Tucker Poolman. He makes me nervous when he has the puck. He makes me nervous when he's on a pair with Tyler Myers and has the puck. I just feel that we're in a worse position for the next 4 years with Tucker Poolman. Jim Rutherford, you don't listen to our show. I get that. But here we go. This is going to be your first endearing moment with the fans. The skate is going to happen tomorrow night because apparently it's 80s night. And you're going to find a way to trade away Tucker Poolman because you're going to look at the books and think he should not be here in the first place. And you're going to find a sucker to take him. It's probably Arizona. I don't even care what we get for him. Don't really care. Although they probably can't afford him because they can barely afford to pay their bills. So
did you guys see?
It's bad.
Did you guys see the sign that was of him and it was like a big heart? It was like, "We heart Tucker Poolman." Yeah. It was like hashtag thank you, Jim. Do you think Poolman realizes that was sarcasm? Do you think he knows that, or do you think he's just like, "Oh man, these guys"?
He goes home. Hey, do you see the sign?
Yeah.
Like I've got fans. Like you don't, babe.
No, like they are dissing you, bro.
I think if you're any kind of human being that can read a room, you know that sign is not a good thing.
Mm. Yeah,
they're
especially after
they're sitting next to all the great job Jims.
Yeah, when you see "Thank you, Jim" next to that,
that's gotta make you feel good, though, eh?
Yeah, it's not the same vibe as like Roy Fitzpatrick for All-Star Game.
Yeah, vote for Rory. Like, oh, that's
different.
That's kind of funny. Like, let's do that instead. Like, yeah, you're my favorite. You're not. No one's gonna say that except your own family. I mean, if I saw him in person, I'd feel bad saying that. But I mean, it's a lot of money to do what you do in a very scary way. I'd almost rather be paying Louis Eriksson to be a penalty killer again.
Yeesh. Man, how awesome was that 1,000th game poster? King Lou.
Like I said, they put all their money into that and they forgot to pay rent. So
it's my wallpaper.
Is it?
No. No.
At home or online?
Everywhere.
Just scan over
plastered
the camera.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Scan over the camera. Holy crap, he's right. Wow. Okay, we're gonna get into some dudes. Ted, who is your dude?
My dude is gonna be Brock Besser for just for bumping the slump. They weren't the first goal wasn't the prettiest goal. In fact, it might have been the ugliest goal. But it doesn't matter because he's starting to shoot a little bit more. It's counting. We know how hard that is to get your monkey off your back, like in any league, like in any type of sport that you're in. When you're not feeling it and you're in a rut, it's tough to get out of that rut, right? So, yeah, kudos to Brock for getting his first and his second in a long while, because this is a guy that we need to produce. So, that'll be my dude for the week.
I'm giving this next one to Brady because I believe in my heart of hearts that I will have a few guys to pick from regardless of who he takes. So, Brady, your first episode back in a while.
Gonna go with the obvious, you guys. Nope.
Pedersen.
Nope.
Guys, it's JT Miller.
Francesco Aquilini.
Oh!
Yeah, dude of the week. I think he handled everything pretty well this week. The press conference, he admitted to his mistakes, and then he went out.
Are you serious? Are you kidding?
I am 100% serious. I think dude of the week, Francesco. Hell yeah. He brings in Bruce Boudreau and brings in, Jim Rutherford. And I'm excited about Canucks hockey.
Yeah.
So Francesco Aquilini, man.
He made you excited, right? I mean, he literally was the only guy that could pull the trigger. We've been asking him to pull the trigger.
That's true.
For months and months and years now, but he did it. And
he unloaded the whole freaking clip. Yeah.
I will applaud for the reasons you gave because every other reason burns me.
Clip. I love it.
Oh,
yeah. Owning it. Probably the only time you'll ever be a dude on the PP1 podcast, my friend.
Well, you definitely gave
if you're listening, Francesco, if you're listening.
Hook us up. I've been a Connor Garland stan. Is that what the kids are saying, Brady?
Yeah.
Did I use that properly?
The kids are saying. I fact checked it and everything.
Okay. So normally I would say
That's what
that
the
is
saying.
I have to go. I mean, Ted, you said it, like, it's JT Miller. He has he has just been a freaking world beater. He has been so much fun. The shootout goal was sick, wicked, and nasty. SWN, as I say.
I think Horvat's was better though.
Horvat's because he won, and
maybe.
fine. Like the
Yeah.
Canucks
Maybe.
even have like the slow mo of Miller's goal, like the way he pulled it. He's just been giving her, man. Like even when they were losing, he was giving her. He was giving her against LA. He's giving her against Boston. Things are going okay with JT Miller, and I think he is one of those guys. I think it would crush me if he was gone. Like he would crush me. It would hurt to see Brock go, just based on just fandom. But if JT Miller was gone, I think that's when we realize like maybe things aren't as great on the Canucks. And if
Is
they have
he is he the face of this team now? I mean, Bruce Boudreau identified him immediately as kind of the guy, the dude in the locker room. Is he the face of the Canucks right now?
I mean, no, but yes. Like that's a tough like title. I don't know. What do you think?
It's crazy to think that he could be a face of this team or a co-face of this team, and he very well could be out the door.
Yeah.
You know, like nobody wants to damper this or poop on the parade or anything like that. And, hey, Riley. But ultimately, teams have been making calls on guys like Bo. They've been making calls on guys like Miller, and they've been making probably calls on other people that we haven't heard yet either, right? So if this team believes it's all in and at some point they find themselves all out by the trade deadline, trades are going to happen. And to me, JT Miller is a guy who's available only because he's 29 years old. He's not going to hang around for 3-4 more years. How good is 33, 34-year-old JT Miller when this team is rebuilt, if that's what ends up happening?
So you sell high on him, basically.
You almost have to, right? You almost have to. And I don't want to see JT Miller go. Like, don't get me wrong here, but at some point, people are going to be moved out, and he is. I mean, he's on this list because he's a good player. He's on this list because there's 31 other teams in this league that would love to have a JT Miller on their roster, and 31 other teams that could use a player like that on a playoff roster. So it's weird. Brady, you're probably right. He probably is the face of the Canucks right now. And it's weird because he very well could be out the door. We just don't know.
You think his value is higher than when we got him?
Oh yeah.
He's
built up a bigger line,
we gave up a first and a third.
I don't know. I think I'm still very vocal on this. I think we overpaid for him at the time that we gave up a prospect to get for him. But if it were Jim that was making the trade, we likely get back what we paid for him. If it's Rutherford making the trade and he's a shrewd negotiator, maybe he gets back more. Likely that he gets back more. But it was like all those years that we had Sven Berchi on the roster. What did we give up a second for Sven Berchi? And during his time as a Canuck, no team in the league would have traded a second to get him back.
Right.
So I think Miller has probably upped his trade value, and it's probably likely that we could get more than a first back, but maybe it's just a first and a third. I don't know. That's a pretty high price to pay when you really think about it. Nobody thought too much about it when they made the trade for Miller.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty high price to pay.
The crazy thing is the same thing can be said about Bo Horvat, right? I mean, his contract status is the same. They expire at the same time. And what is a guy going to want to do with a team in this position if they're not really pushing by then, you know?
Yeah.
It's a big chance, especially if he wants about $7 million, like $6-7 million. He's going to be
okay. So who do you keep?
I agree on that.
Who do you keep out of the two?
I think you have to keep Horvat based on age if you had to pick one or the other. But I really feel like the new coach, and just the vibe of this team right now is that this is Miller's team.
I agree with you. I think that the coaches are going to have an impact on whether a guy like Miller stays, but Miller always has been, and is now a win now player. And he was added to a team that wasn't ready to win yet. So part of me thinks that he's going to end up on a team that needs to win now. And if that's the Canucks and they need to win now, then great. If he's on a team somewhere else because they need to win now, then I just hope that we got the proper return for him.
If they make that trade next year, that's when they want to do it. That's when Connor Bedard comes up. If you want a first rounder, that's the only time you're going to get a chance to get a guy like him. That dude is.
Well, I mean, there's Shane Wright this year as well.
Shane Wright isn't Connor Bedard.
No, he's not, but he's good.
He is. Absolutely. I'd wait one more year and make that trade next year if you're going to do it. At least get the full value for it. Because the first round next year is going to be pretty hefty. If you want to make a charge at that, let's say a first overall pick, and you need at the very least you need a first pick. So if it means trading 2 firsts to get the first overall, to get a guy like that, I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean the nice thing about that too is that their contracts are pretty low. I mean, I think it's 5.5 and 5.25.
Yeah,
Horvat and then Miller. I mean, those are you can retain 50% of that to it. Then you're looking at contenders that are only need to move out a little bit of money. So maybe that ups you a little bit. Maybe you get even a little bit more value then. Who knows?
True that.
Would you? I mean, I think it's pretty clear now to me that giving up a first and a third for Miller makes sense. Would you still have made that trade back in the day for his current production, giving up a first and a third? Did you think they paid what he was worth, or overpaid, or underpaid?
He's definitely worth a first. Like definitely. I think you're probably looking at pretty equal return now too.
Even
just the fact that he is like 3 years older. Is he though?
I think the first and the third is. I think it's warranted now. It was a little crazy before, but now it's.
I think he's reached his full potential.
I agree.
And he was very close in Tampa Bay. He was just a bit more sheltered. He's getting a lot more minutes and stuff. But he has become. You're right. He has become a really good player.
But it's like when you make, Ted, you and I, we do our trades in fantasy, right? Like, I'm going to trade you I'm going to give you these picks based on what I believe this guy's going to be. We both believe that if he goes this, then this is why he's worth this pick, right? Like, you might give up a little bit more and think, well, but if he does get to this, then I feel okay because this is what I'm about to get out of this player, right? Like if you were to get like a Dalvin Cook or something like that.
I think realistically, I think for Rutherford and just this team, realistically, I think we're not going to be moving guys like that for picks.
No,
it might be for players, like especially on defense. Maybe we go Miller for Dumba or something like that, right? I know Minnesota's been interested. But then again, I mean, if say a team like Pittsburgh comes knocking and they're like, "Hey, retain 50% of Miller, we'll give you a first and a third." Like, you really got to think about that.
Yeah, if picks start getting swapped for players in this roster, obviously it means stuff hasn't gone that well, right? So, and we haven't even talked about trade.
They want to bring in guys.
It really depends on how this team wants to go forward.
Well, and we might not have a choice, right? Maybe the team goes for it. Depends on what this record's going to be. Right now, everybody's sort of like in drink the Kool-Aid land, right? I mean,
100%.
It's almost tough to talk about this. I mean, if we feel
we're all wasted.
Yeah, we're wasted. We're chocolate wasted.
Chocolate wasted, yeah.
Chocolate wasted.
Chocolate wasted. But I mean, there's been so much good stuff and positivity to talk about. That's so nice. I mean, there's been so much things to talk about. We haven't even talked about the fact that whether we think Rutherford is a good hire or not. Like, that's how busy things are right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're good at that.
I 100% think he's a good hire, but
they're good at that. They know how to like make everything go crazy and like, all right, well, we could probably get away with a few things right now.
I don't know how you could argue that Rutherford's a bad hire.
Well, I mean, if you want to ask me, I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I don't think he's just to be clear on that, I don't think he's a bad hire. I think he's a hockey guy. He's a good hockey guy. He's an experienced guy. This team needs an experienced guy in right now to help them out. But I feel much more comfortable if Rutherford is going to be the president of this club than the GM of this club. I think maybe it means that they groom and hire a younger, more inexperienced GM who's sort of up and coming, maybe like a Mellenby or a Staios or something like that.
You do know he is the president, correct?
Yeah, but I'm saying I think I'm more okay with it in that role than the other role, is what I'm saying.
Okay, yes.
So what I don't like about Rutherford is that he's like in his
a dinosaur
early to late 70s. I mean, how long can you possibly go on with this, right? I mean, this is a guy who's on record saying he doesn't like to draft defensemen in the first round. I mean, that's archaic, right? Like, obviously his tune has probably changed since then, but I think it's just it's the old regime of hockey men right? And I think personally, I'm just down for more of a younger, forward thinker who's thinking about things other than what I've known for the last 40 years as a GM, right? I think experience counts for a lot. That's why I think him in his role as president is better than GM. If the Canucks were going to bring in a veteran GM, I'd want a younger up and coming president. If they're going to go older president, I want a younger up and coming GM. So I hope they augment that. The truth will be,
I do think so.
Yeah, the truth will be in the I don't know what the saying is, whatever.
Proof's in the pudding.
The proof is going to be in the pudding when they hire their GM. If the GM is higher or younger, then I think it's great. The whole point, I think, of Rutherford being on is so that the Sedins can soak up all of that knowledge that they're getting from him. But I don't think he's an answer guy. I think that he can probably fit in as a GM and help run this operation and keep it out of going into the ground, because he obviously does have a wealth of experience, and they can definitely lean on him for that. The Twins, are super strong people. They're going to have their own ideas about how to run everything. They'll take everything they need from GM or from Rutherford, and they'll move on, and then they'll be their own thing, and then they'll have all of those sort of checks and balances that they know how to operate with it.
Right.
So I don't think it's a bad hiring. I'm just glad where he is.
Thank you.
Yeah, me too. I was happy to see him in the president's role as well. I have heard that he that he's kind of becoming more of he's kind of got this mixed style of old school meets new school, and a bit of proof of that in the fact that he's won cups in different decades with different teams. I'd like to get into it a little bit more, but we can always save that for next week. We're running up close to an hour and a half here. But I really do think that we are going to get a younger. I don't know how young, but I do think we're going to get a younger GM. I know there's a lot of high praise even for Ryan Johnson, the general manager of the our farm team, Abbotsford Canucks. So it'll be interesting to see what they cook up.
I agree. Ted, do you agree as well? I can see it in your face.
Agree with Ryan Johnson?
Sure. No, I'm just kidding. No, you agree that there's anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Let's put a lid on it. All right.
This is unraveling quite quickly. This has been a pretty awesome episode. Brady, welcome back to the show. You're off back. School now, so I'll expect double the work here to make up for it. So I want to see double tweets. I want to see that Instagram going on fire.
Like you're reporting on my desk first thing in the morning.
Exactly. I want hot coffee, and I want the report on my desk. I want those Peter Parker. I want those Spider-Man pictures on my desk.
Mornings are for coffee and contemplation. Okay.
There you
go. Stranger
He's
Things.
Smart. He's smart too.
I don't drink coffee. Come on now.
That's true. You don't. We'll make sure that an empty Monster energy drink is left out for Santa Claus. This has been the PP1 Podcast, Dean Blundell Network. We are presented again with our friends Summerskates and Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com, enter code PP20 to get 20% off and free shipping, because that's what you just want to do. Guys, this has been an absolutely phenomenal episode. There's been so much to talk about that we actually want to talk about, and it wasn't a filler episode, so that's fun. It feels good to be talking about fun Canucks again, because man, it's been brutal. So, boys, on behalf of Brady, who's out in the dungeon, Ted, who's sitting in front of a Christmas tree adjusting his dual mics, I'm Ryan. This is the PP1 Podcast. Thanks for coming out. We love you. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the PP1 Podcast.